Hello, and welcome to PolyAmAreWe, the podcast where we explore polyamory and ethical non-monogamy from a male emotional perspective. In with us today we have Raúl. I say it right?
That's it. Very cool. Roll in your R's.
How would you pronounce it? Raúl.
Yeah, this is Raúl.
The Raúl of his own world.
You can say Raúl as well.
Raúl. It doesn't sound as nice.
No, but I accept it.
You gotta add that passion into it. Raúl.
Raúl, right?
And say it with a bit of an inflection. Raúl.
Yeah, sometimes people like it, when I say Raúl. Like they put the emphasis on Raúl. And I said, yeah, I said it right.
Like
I rolled my R's.
It's like a bit of a growl in there. Raúl. So how are you today, Raúl? What brings you here to PolyAmAreWe?
Okay, let me just start by saying, Karl, that this is an honor for me to be here.
Aww.
Because I've listened to the podcast like yesterday and the day before yesterday, and I can see that everything is very personal and everything comes like from your heart, which makes it unique.
Yeah.
And every time that someone puts like something out on social media, you can see that. You can see if the project or whatever is coming from a loving place. And I think it is. I'm super glad. I'm super honored. And it's a pleasure to contribute like to this project that you just embarked on.
That means a lot to me, man. I really love hearing that. No, I figured when I started this, I mean, if I'm going to be speaking from a male emotional point of view, I only have my experience to speak from. Because I'm not in the head of any other person in the world. I can just speak from my own experience, my meandering journey, the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. I think I was the same in every aspect growing up. I'd always question everything. I remember being in religion class when I was a kid as well, and looking in the religion book, and it had the question and answer, like just gospel. Question, who created the world and everyone in it? Answer, God. And it's like, yeah, why? Why is it so cut and dry? Why can't there be, some grey in there, spaghetti monster in space? Come on, man.
There's more to that.
So tell us a bit about you. What's your journey been like, and how have you been meandering along this path so far? Meandering.
Okay, so look, I've always had monogamous relationships. Okay, a little bit like accepting the society rules.
Okay,
and, just following them because it wouldn't feel as threatening. So I would just like accept them. But right now it came to a point where I was like, but I haven't explored like this. I am monogamous and I didn't choose to be monogamous. I mean, it was not me who made the decision, So I started like exploring this. And one of the reasons why I started to explore myself like down this path is because I wanted to give the things that I can give a good place to be. Okay, let me explain. So, for example, whenever that you meet a person, you share things with the person, and then you connect in a certain way. And I've seen that, for example, I've had friends with to do like these kind of plans, and then these different friends to do a different kind of plan. So I think that resonates a lot with many people, right?
No, like in the sense that, I mean, you're not going to be the same person with one friend as you will be with another friend. You're always going to be Raúl, but you're going to show different aspects of your personality with one person as opposed to another person.
That's it. So I share these people these things about myself because I know that they appreciate them, So if, growing up in a monogamous relationship, in a monogamous society, that would mean that I have to connect with a person on 100% level. Okay? And it is very honest, and it took me a lot to accept that I haven't connected with anyone on 100% level. To illustrate like this with one example, my mom, for example, she's the woman that I love the most, but I don't appreciate 100% of who she is. And it took me a lot, to come to this point and say, maybe I connect with someone on a 90% level. And that's super beautiful. And that you have to be grateful for that. But like growing up in this monogamous society, I was like, if I connect with someone on a 90% level, what am I doing with the 10% left? Am I like throwing it away? Because I don't want to throw away 10% of who I am, So I started to build connections with different people so I could, like squeeze like 100% of who I am, And that is something that I'm doing. That is something that feels comfortable. And always, as you said, like with honesty and consent and freedom of expression, I've always let them know, like, I'm not monogamous. I don't know what I am, but this is something that I'm exploring, and I am, like super honest from the beginning, because this is a journey of, like 2 months or 3 months, more or less.
Okay, that's really... So you're very much new to the whole idea of polyamory or ethical non-monogamy, or having two partners at the same time. And
That's it.
so what's a bit more of your background? Like, how was your family life growing up, or like, were you accepted for your own choices, or what made Raúl?
Okay. So as I said, I've always had monogamous relationships. Okay, I've never had a relationship where I say I am polyamorous. Okay, it's not like that. And I felt that, I've been like gay since I came out when I was 19, and it hasn't been like a big deal. I was just like taking my time to come out, and I did when I was 19, when I felt, the courage to do it in a society that, you can't be gay in society. You have to be normal. So it took me a while, but I came out when I was 19, and then in all my relationships, there was always this thing about jealousy.
Okay.
And like sometimes we would manage the jealousy in a better way, sometimes not.
So these would be in monogamous relationships,
That's
you were saying. Okay.
Because I've always had.
And so jealousy then, like, if you expand on that a bit more, like how did the jealousy then affect you? Or what would you be feeling or thinking at those times when your partner's feeling jealous and you're like, well, you've nothing to feel jealous about because I love you, but I'm also, able to check out other guys around.
Yeah, it was a time before I accepted that, sexual tension or sexual whatever doesn't mean that you don't love the person that you're with.
So it's separating sex and just having fun from emotional love.
That's
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can subscribe to that one.
Right? So there is this quote that I read from this famous psychiatrist, Karl Jung.
Oh yeah, Karl Jung. I follow him myself.
Yeah, right.
I'm actually talking about that. I'm doing a shadow work workbook at the moment, which is inspired by the teachings of Karl Jung. It is really epic.
I love that.
But it's delving into those darker aspects of my own personality and making me face them. And it's a journey. But sorry to interject, Karl Jung. Let's go.
That's it. And I remember reading a quote of his. And he said, the kernel of all jealousy is lack of love.
Interesting.
And I read it when I was in a monogamous relationship. And I was like, I don't know if I feel jealous because I don't love enough, But at the same time, I felt that there was something going on because I was like miserable in the relationships that I had.
Okay.
And, like I would cry a lot, like every week or something.
Where would that misery stem from, though? What, like, it would be like a feeling that you're not, although you're connected to someone, you're not lonely, but you're still feeling that loneliness.
Yeah, that's it. I think it comes from wanting a relationship to be perfect and to be magical and to be like Disney and stuff. And actually seeing that reality was telling me every time, Raúl, this is like toxic a little bit, or this is hurting you, although you want it like so bad that you get blinded by it. I don't know.
Okay,
so
interesting perspective.
Yeah, so for example, I would see someone asking my partner out, and that would make me jealous because maybe they were pretty,
Okay, yeah.
And I would feel jealous.
So you'd be feeling the jealousy rather than you feeling jealous towards your partner.
Yeah,
generally.
sometimes.
Okay,
sometimes.
Okay.
And then, like there is this thing about the kernel of all jealousy is lack of love. So I could feel that there was a lack of love because I was feeling miserable. But at the same time, I was not willing to accept that the jealousy that I was feeling was actually coming from a lack of love. So we decided to break up. I started, that was like almost 2 years ago. And I start, like doing the inner work, like asking myself what I really like in life. Now that I was single, I could like do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I took the time, I paused like my life. I started like following my little voice, my creative voice, and giving space like to who I am. And I have built relationships now with different people. And jealousy is not something that I feel. Jealousy is something that I don't experience like right now. And I was like, maybe the kernel of my jealousy was actually coming from a lack of love, but not a lack of love, in the relationship, but a lack of love within myself. Because I say now that I love myself, which sounds like very cheesy, in modern society.
No, I get that. And a lot of people will turn their noses up to it.
Yeah.
I mean, a bit of advice I got recently from someone was on your desktop, on your phone screen, have a picture of yourself. Even if other people think it's egotistical, have a really hot picture of yourself. So every time you look at your phone, you're reminded just how freaking hot you are.
That's
or,
it.
the good things about you.
That's it. So do the things that make you feel good, you know? And I can say that now I love myself way better than I used to do. So now I was like, oh, so Karl was right, actually. Now that I feel like love inside of me, I don't feel jealous.
Okay.
I don't feel jealous. So that is one thing why I wanted to, delve into this polyamory. And
So would you then equate your jealous feelings over a lack of love, or you wanting to give more love or receive more love?
So I think this is the idea that sometimes the things that I give are not appreciated by the person that I'm giving those things to, you know? And it takes a lot to actually accept, like, okay, this person doesn't love me the way that I love them. So it's what we talk about, the clicks, remember?
Yeah.
Okay, so I started to see that whenever you meet someone, your energies or your personalities or who you are and who that person is click. Okay?
Yeah.
And sometimes you like that click, sometimes you don't like that click, and that makes you like the person or not like the person. And doing their inner work, like during these 2 years, I have been keeping the people whose clicks I like. I'm not gonna keep the people that I don't like how I feel around them, because that is something that I cannot explain, but something that I feel.
Yeah, I can relate to that one. You sort of get this feeling, although there's nothing inherently wrong with the person, it's just like there is no flow here. We're not gelling like
That's
you
it.
like. It's just it feels like work as opposed to enjoying the journey.
That's it. So I started, to keep those people, and now it is much easier for me. It's much easier. What was the question? Sorry, Karl.
I can't remember. It was about your clicks.
My clicks, yeah, but then there was one. It doesn't mean that I'm not feeling any negative thoughts or negative things when I'm with someone,
Which is understandable.
Yeah,
I mean, we all do. I mean, even if we're in the best of all, feeling like we're in the greatest of all relationships, especially if it's a new relationship and you're feeling untouchable, you're still gonna have those little earworms getting in there now and again where you're like. And I think as humans, we all suffer from that kind of moments of questioning ourselves, of low self-esteem, of comparing ourselves to others, which none of us like to admit we do, but I feel like we all do it.
Yeah, that's it. So when you start, facing the parts of yourself that you don't like, and because I get those moments when I meet a new person, and then we start, sharing each other's paths in life and stuff. As I have right now, built my independent and my personal path. I don't need anyone in that. Now I understand that people have their paths as well. And if we get to connect and be with each other, let's be in you're in your path, I'm in your path. We're not gonna mess up with each other's goals or aspirations or whatever. And I stopped feeling jealous whenever that I meet someone or stuff, because and I think this comes from the fact that I actually did the inner work.
Okay.
That I started to work on myself and on the things that I wanted and not the things that a relationship wants,
So could it be a case then you're looking at relationships not so much as something to fill a void within yourself, but a support mechanism for both parties?
Yeah, that's it. And some people, because you talk about this a lot in the podcast, about how important it is to be honest and to have an honest communication in the polyamorous relationship that you are with. But I feel that you have to do the inner work first and be honest with yourself first, because if you're not going to be honest with yourself, you can't. I mean, you will not be able to be honest with another person.
But it's the old adage as well. If you don't love yourself, you're not going to be able to love others.
Yeah, it sounds very cliche. But
It is very
actually
cliche.
True. It is
very
actually
true.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you have a disdain for yourself, or I mean, personally, I've gone through my own dark days where I'm absolutely hating everything I am, looking in the mirror, detesting what I'm looking at, and that would reflect outwardly then that I'm not attracting good things into my life. I'm only seeing negativity everywhere I go, and I'm seeing dark clouds everywhere I go, until I'm able to flip this script and remind myself, like I've said before, of I'm telling myself the good things and what I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I always say this, that in life there's always like bad things about to put your focus on, you know? But fortunately there's always like good things as well in life where to put the focus on, you know? So that's very important, that when you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't focus on the bad parts, because there will always be bad parts, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is why I love the people who own up to their mistakes, you know, because mistakes are part of life. So it's actually how you react to your mistakes what matters.
Okay.
It's not the mistake per se, because we all make them, you know, and we wish that we hadn't made those mistakes. But there was also something that I read, which was it's not about the mistake, but how you talk to yourself after making the mistake. What really matters, like to your mental health and to you, like basically as a person. And that's something that I'm working on as well. Like after making a mistake, I'm gonna understand the version of me that made that mistake, and I'm gonna speak with like compassion and with love to them, because that is what I knew back then.
Yeah, well, like I've said before, I mean, like we all make mistakes, but I mean, as long as you can see the learning that comes out of it at the end of the day, then okay, it's a mistake. Well done. If you can do mistakes well, you might as well do them well and learn from it, and use that moving forward in other aspects of your life, whether was someone you trusted that betrayed you, or someone, or some other aspect. You know what I mean? I lost my train of thought there again.
No, but yeah, I completely, and I actually understand those people who don't act like that, because I've been myself a person who didn't own up to my mistakes, so I understand them. But I feel that to be in a polyamorous relationship, or to be in an ethical non-monogamy monogamous relationship, you actually have to be like that kind of person, a person who's honest with themselves and who says, okay, fuck it, I fucked it up. Like, what can I do now to improve?
Absolutely. So, like, where are you at now in your journey? Are you dating someone? Are you in a monogamous relationship? Are you actually dating multiple partners right now? Or how is your tapestry?
All right.
I like that word, tapestry.
Yeah, me too.
Raúl, let me do this. Hold on. Raúl's Tapestry. That's the name of your novel.
I love that, Karl.
There we go.
But yeah, so it all started with Tinder. Okay.
Tinder.
Yeah, I downloaded Tinder when I felt ready to do so, and I started like meeting up with different guys. And then I would see that this guy that I'm meeting is very interested in this aspect, And then the following week I would meet another guy, and they would be complete different to each other, but he's still interested, He's someone that I want to get to know. And then it came to a point where I was seeing maybe like 3 people at the same time. And I was like, okay, so this is something. Sorry.
Stop beating up my furniture between smacking the mic and banging my table.
I'm so sorry.
The room is going to be trash. It's like that gif, the dog in the burning house, like, it's fine. Everything's fine.
So it came to a point where I was like, okay, I am meeting you, but I've also had, like a couple of dates.
And you say that to your other partners, or?
Yeah, to all of them.
Cool.
To all of them. It wasn't until I was ready to do so. I remember that I had, like, for example, the first dates, and they didn't know about each other. But it wasn't until I was honest with myself and saying, okay, maybe this is true that I'm not monogamous.
But that's okay too, because I mean, I'm all about honesty. For me personally, I like being an open book. But someone I'm just meeting for the first time doesn't need to read that whole book in one sitting. They don't need to know everything about me on the first date. And I'm sure it's similar for most people out there. You want to hold things back for, especially if it's you feel it could be a big conversation, like you're dating multiple people at once, but also I still like you and I want to see where this path goes.
That's it. But that was, like the opposite. Like me only meeting one person was not the vibe that I was given either. I was like making clear that I was like open about this, but I wouldn't, like explain very much because I didn't know myself.
And where were these partners coming from themselves? Are they from a monogamous kind of a background, or would they be open themselves, or?
So look, this is interesting because when you work and do the inner work, life gives you like people who are in a similar position.
Absolutely.
In your life.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I've always found that the moment you start, if you're trying to manifest something in your life, it cannot be a coincidence that no matter where you go or what you do, you are seeing evidence of it. And it's just like mind blown.
So 2 of them are single and one of them is married, actually.
Okay, wow.
So he has a very like open relationship.
Okay, so he would completely identify as polyamorous or ethically non-monogamous.
Yeah, something like that. We haven't talked about this, but yeah, sure.
Unless he's cheating and then it's ethical it's non-ethical non-monogamy. I always get those words.
No, it's actually the other way around because he said like, hey, like, are you like, do you want to meet my partner? Because I talked about you with him. And I would love, like to hang out the 3 of them. I was like, sure, like let's do it. And then the other people are single. And they are okay with me exploring like this because they are also exploring like different things. I just thought
those hands are flailing all over the place. It's grand, no harm done. And so, like within, like you're the first male guest I've actually had on the show because I've had Dr. Brianne on the last episode, Nash on. So and interestingly, being a gay male, it's one of those things that I was really wanting on this because, as I was saying, it's from the male emotional perspective, and through your own experiences, like within the gay community or LGBTQ community, how is polyamory or how is ethical non-monogamy perceived? Is it a normal thing, or is it generally? You said earlier on about you wanting this happy ever after Disney kind of monogamous, where's my Prince Charming kind of an ideology. Now, would that be a prevalent ideology within the community, or is it?
Okay, I think that the main idea is that one, still like Disney relationship, where eventually you're going to have only one person who you are committed with. So, and I would see that every time that I would meet, or every time that I would have Tinder dates, or me having monogamous relationships was because the place where I was like, you gotta be monogamous. So the people that you're gonna meet are gonna be monogamous as well. Yes. So I've had Tinder dates. Okay. And I was exploring all of this, and I would let them know. By the time that I know, I would let them know. And I've also had people saying, if you're going to act like that, I don't want like to keep on exploring this connection that we're having because I want to be like monogamous. Like, no, not with those words, but they would say, I don't like this kind of like style.
Like I've said before, I mean, no matter what love looks like, it's a journey. And you could be monogamous, polyamorous, ethically non-monogamous. As long as everything is communicated and everything is consensual, then it's, you're hurting no one. Unless you're doing something against your own boundaries and you end up just hurting yourself.
Yeah, that's it. I think I said this to you that the project is very beautiful because everything comes from that place, a place of, I'm going to open this door and share what polyamory is to me. And if you're down for it, just... you have this path as well. You can explore this, and it doesn't come from a place of how these people or how society says that polyamory is, which is educating kids in a way where they can like feel free to cheat and feel free to not being honest about your relationships and how you want your relationships to be. So this is all coming from a place of freedom of expression, consent, and this is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, if you could speak to some of these young people you just mentioned, like, would you have any advice to offer in starting if they're questioning, let's say, as I always did when I was young, you know, wondering why is this the way it is, and is there another way? Like, what would you tell yourself of 5 years ago?
So fortunately, we live in a society now where this is actually okay to be exploring this. You know,
well, it was actually quite interesting for me. I don't know if I mentioned earlier where I was at a comedy show, a comedy show in English, and it was "Failing in Love" was the title of it.
Okay.
Whereas at the very start of the comedy set, the comedian goes, "Okay, hands up here, who's in love?" And my hand goes straight up first, you know. Yeah. And then I told my whole story to the room full of people about me being polyamorous, ethically non-monogamous. And it was very strange because I had this feeling that it was polarizing. Half the room were sort of like not sure on the whole idea. The other half were super interested in wanting to learn more. And after the show, I had loads of people coming up to me asking me all about, like, you know, my journey, the ones who were interested. And there was at one point in it, some comment I made, where I could hear it. Half of the room was like, ooh, no, couldn't do that. And the other half was like, ah. And I think, although it is becoming more accepted in modern society, it's still this polarizing kind of a thing because, especially for older generations, like, my friends, my family know about my lifestyle, all except for my mother, who doesn't need to know. It would just confuse her. And, you know, if it doesn't affect her life, my lifestyle, then so be it. Because she wouldn't understand it, especially, you know, that generation in their 50s, 60s, 70s. Yeah. You know, but I feel the younger generations now, it's we live in a far more liberal society than even I grew up in the 90s, 2000s, where everything was like this. I mean, even when I was in school, to call another boy on the playground gay was a slur and people would find it funny. Yeah, I mean, that's how different the world was then. These days, I mean, you'd never even dream of doing that, where it's just like utmost respect for, you know, anyone in that and is living their lives the way they choose to live their lives, and to hell with everyone else who thinks it's any other way, because at the end of the day, they don't really matter. What matters most is yourself, your happiness, your peace of mind, and your partner's peace of mind.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So I would ask that person or that version of myself same question that I asked myself, like, did you choose this? If not, you're free to explore. You're free to explore, and you're going to be the one deciding that.
Interesting.
I mean, don't let, you know, like society tells you what to do in terms of your romantic relationships, because I understand and I see them as big things in your life. A partner is something, well, is a person with whom you can explore a lot and have fun and
learn something about yourself as well. Yeah. It's a mutual learning I love about this whole lifestyle, where you get to meet new and interesting people, and they add something. They give you a new perspective on things you never thought about, and it's so interesting.
So it gives you incredible things. Why are you going to let anyone else choose for you?
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah. So that was my beginning. Like, I remember this was maybe 5 months ago. I was talking about this with my friends, and I would say, I haven't chosen this, and I am mad because I've been like this for like 24 years.
So you're just living monogamously because society says that's... But then maybe you didn't know any different.
I didn't know that I could get to choose.
Well, yeah, that's a big thing for me because, as I've also said before, having that conversation, if you're in a stable relationship and monogamous, and one member of that couple wants to have this conversation, it's probably one of the most difficult conversations they can ever broach, because you may know the person like the back of your hand, but you will never be inside their head knowing how they could react to something of this magnitude, because it is a big conversation if one member of... But you may be surprised that it could turn out that your partner's like, I've wanted to have that conversation too and didn't know how to bring it up. And then all of a sudden you're seeing each other in a whole different light. Wow. That this, you know, one of those taboo subjects that you would never think you would ever bring up. And then all of a sudden it's like the skies open up, the sunlight is shining down. You're like, we've just transcended into a new level of our relationship.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Fortunately, I haven't had those conversations with my partners or with my exes. It would come to a point where we were like, we're not even thinking about opening anything, actually.
It never even crossed your mind to know, okay,
we would
interesting.
try to think of different ideas.
Shake things up in the bedroom amongst you guys, add a bit of spice.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't need to know all about your sex life, but you know.
No, but yeah, maybe we would start talking about maybe doing a threesome like in the future and stuff. But you know, that was my little voice saying, Raúl, like explore this, because this is clearly something that you want to see how far it goes, you know? And I was ignoring that little voice like for my 24 years, for my whole life. And then I said, I'm going to explore myself and I'm going to decide. So I'm going to, you know, like meet people and let them know the place where I'm at. And then I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, it's the only way you can, because at the end of it, you just got to be you. I mean, and be the best damn you can be. And then if anyone else has a problem with that, well, then it's not really going to work out, is it?
Yeah.
You know, they could be the most attractive Henry Cavill looking guy, you know, and it's like, if it's not flowing, oftentimes you just got to go, yeah, it's a shame, but it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, because on the intellectual level, or if your wants and your needs don't line up, you know, you're just going to end up carrying around this bag of resentments that I've talked about before, which can be very heavy.
Yeah.
So, like you had mentioned that you'll be seeing, at the moment, you're seeing 3 different partners.
Yes.
So how the hell do you manage your time around 3, plus having Raúl time? I love that name, Raúl. Yeah, right. Raúl time.
Okay, so first of all, I prioritize like my things, you know?
Okay.
If I just want to be today like on the couch, I'm going to allot myself to do that. And one difference that I've seen regarding romantic relationships is that right now I don't feel the need to share everything now with the other person. I don't want them, you know, like to see them today or tomorrow. I'm just going to see them whenever it feels comfortable for both of us, you know?
That is
so I let them know
yeah.
my availability. Then they let me know theirs, and then we try to see how we can see each other. You know, that's not something that I had before in my monogamous relationships. For example, if I wanted to see my ex, I wanted like that to happen right now.
And generally with the one, if you had just one partner, I mean, the traditional mentality is they are your everything. They are best friend, muse, confidant, lover, everything all at once. And we touched on earlier on how you're able to show different aspects of your personality with different partners. So would you feel that is it easier for you to have 3 different partners where you can bring a different aspect of your personality rather than with just one to bring what is expected, all parts of your personality?
Yeah, absolutely. This is much more like comfortable to me. And right now, before I would, you know, like have this need of seeing my ex or seeing my partner at the moment, and I would actually see myself, or I would actually find myself rather unhappy afterwards.
Okay,
you know?
wow.
I was not really fulfilling the desire that I previously had, you know? And so that would make me like see them again, like the next day, or see them the following day. And right now that I just let everything flows, maybe I get to meet or to hang out with one of the people that I'm seeing like once a week or once every 4 days or something, because that's just the time that I can do.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So you know? You're learning in a way to prioritize, to manage your time when it's spread amongst, well.
Yeah, maybe I feel that they're not my partners. They're just like people that I'm seeing. But yeah, I'm seeing 3 people and they all know about each other. I've talked about them with all of them as well. So yeah.
Touching back on jealousy right now. So you're saying you're very much new to this whole concept. So let's say one of your connections if one for a better word, was seeing someone else. And you said you would be feeling jealousy in the past when you were in a monogamous relationship. How do you feel your attitude towards that has changed? So let's say one of your partners, now you message going, hey, do you want to meet up on Wednesday? And he says, no, I'm meeting up with Juan on Wednesday. I won't be able to see you. What initially then jumps to your head? Would you have those feelings of jealousy and insecurity, or is there another method you've learned to deal with this?
Yeah, there's absolutely like a new method that I didn't have before. So right now, for example, imagine this person that I'm seeing who's married. Okay. Imagine that I want to see them, and then I text them, and then I say like, hey, do you want to meet tomorrow? Or do you want to meet whenever? And then they said, I can't because I'm going to be with my husband. Okay. Right now, I see this guy, the guy that I'm seeing, as a very beautiful person. Okay. He's super interesting. He has, like everything clear in his head, or at least he wants to have like all the things that he can control and clear, and he's someone who knows himself a lot. So I appreciate those things about himself, So now if he says, I'm going to go and hang out with my husband, I know that he chose his husband. So he must be as well a person that's very interesting and beautiful, at least to him,
Absolutely.
So I'm just happy that he is sharing a good time with a person that he loves.
Yeah, like what I discussed in the last episode, this idea of compersion, where you're actually feeling happy for the other person, enjoying their life and living their life to the fullest, where you're like, I can't wait to hear that story about, what they did last night, whether it was a nice restaurant or they went to see a movie or, and just live vicariously through them in a way.
That's it. That's it. And it takes a lot, to actually understand that if you want them to be happy, that's because you want you to be happy as well, so you accept like every possible hardship, in all this process, because he has his path, I have my path, so let's just focus on the things that feel like comfortable to us.
Absolutely. No,
and I'm not mad if I don't see you tomorrow. I can see you next week, or I can see you in 2 weeks if you want, so I'm not gonna be mad if you still want to hang out with me and I want to hang out with you. That'll happen.
So would you find the emotions as intense or less intense with this kind of a setup? So would you be as like falling for someone as quickly, or is it more easygoing, passive, casual?
That's it. This is not intense, which is something that I don't miss from my past.
Okay.
Before, as I said, it was all very intense. And I remember, for example, in the relationship that I had 2 years ago, I moved to his place after, 3 weeks of knowing each other.
Wow, that's moving pretty damn fast, my friend.
Yeah, I know. That was clearly a mistake. But I didn't know back then. How am I going to tell, the version that was super in love, like, don't move with this person that you just met. He wanted to move,
But then you're having this battle with between the head and the heart, and you're like, well, I like this guy. This guy's amazing, but also, why am I here?
That's it. And
that's not where my stuff goes.
And then I understood that you don't get to know a person after 3 weeks. You get to know them after a year. If you're lucky, after, months, or after, But it doesn't take 3 weeks.
Well, it all depends on the click. Like you'd spoken about before, as I would call the flow, how you vibe, how you gel together. And sometimes you can hit it off with someone instantly, where you're just like, I feel like I've known this person for 10 years. Or otherwise, you could see a person for 10 times and then still feel like they're a complete stranger.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's just about, as you said, the click,
But then, in my case, for example, problems would start to pop up after 4 months. And then the problems were very recurrent. It would happen like every week.
So what would be your general go-to after, let's say you're in this relationship for 4 months? Would you have a feeling this was coming, or would it be more of a spontaneous kind of a subconscious reaction? Because I know how I act. I know how I have acted with other partners. Whereas, like I'm very open, I'm very honest with people. But then I get this fear in me after maybe a few months of seeing someone, that someone knows everything about me. And something subconsciously clicks in my head going, they're going to use this to manipulate me somehow. And then I start, and it happened with Nash, and I'm with her now 10 years. And it's happened with most relationships or most connections, deep feeling connections I've been in. Whereas I get close to someone and I'll start putting up the brick walls then, you know, and sort of pushing people away in the weirdest of ways, you know, and I don't even understand it. And I'm going through therapy right now, and I'm talking to my therapist about this certain aspect of myself where I open myself up. I'm happy to open myself up. You know, I'm happy to exchange stories with someone. And then this day comes along where it's just like, oh, they know everything about me. And then I retract back into sort of a shell, and they're left wondering what's going on. I don't have a clue what's going on. And we're just trying to, you know, deal with this nuclear fallout. And I was like, what is going on? And how did I get onto this?
Yeah, I think that happens a lot, Karl. You know, like oversharing and then thinking like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. You know, maybe I feel that the feeling that you get is probably because you don't like what you just shared. So you think that they're going to use it as ammunition, you know, like against you? What do you think about that?
No, I don't think it's anything I share that I don't like, because as I said, I will share myself open, what I'm speaking. I've been accused of being too blunt at times with my honesty because I don't know how to pad it properly to soften it. So I'll come across as a bit blunt, and it's like, I'm sorry.
So in my case, for example, I would share something that was, you know, a concern of mine in the relationship. And then that would have a negative reaction in the relationship. And I would think back then that suffering is part of, you know, like romantic relationships.
Life is suffering from the Buddhist mentality.
Yeah, it is. But sometimes, you know, your mind gets married to one idea.
Oh, yeah.
Life tells you, like, all the time, like, this is not how you imagine.
This is not how it should be.
Yeah,
but who's there to say what should and should not be?
Yeah, that's it. And then maybe that suffering is something we can avoid.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And so right now, it like the feelings that I get with my romantic relationships that I have now, like let's say 3, I don't feel intense about them. I just let them flow. I just accept whatever that comes natural.
I suppose it's fair that way, because you're now not relying on one person to give you all the things that you need. One partner can give you that little bit that Raúl needs. Another partner can give another little bit that Raúl needs, rather than one person having to carry that whole burden of being your absolutely everything.
Yeah, that's it. And I like that about myself.
And you don't have to be anyone's absolutely everything either.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Oh, yeah, I can.
That's a lot of pressure. But yeah, I like that. I like that about myself, that I allow myself to, you know, appreciate other people. And not only, like, not being committed to only one, because I would feel that I am closing doors in my path, you know?
Okay.
I would feel, I don't know, imagine this is something that had happened in the past, okay? I'm on Tinder. I meet this person. Everything clicks. Everything seems like good. So I want to, you know, like keep on exploring with him. And then I meet another person who is maybe interesting as well, but in a different way. And then I've had the moments of, I gotta choose.
Okay. Yeah.
I gotta choose. And right now I feel like, why would I choose? Like, if they're both okay with me, like, seeing both of them, why do I have to keep closing doors of, you know, exploration about myself? Maybe with one person, I'm going to do like all this that I'm going to enjoy. And with the other person, I'm going to do all of these things that I'm going to enjoy as well. You know? So right now, and this is something that I like about myself, I don't close like any doors, you know?
Yeah.
And I look back and I was like, maybe Raúl, you were being selfish like to yourself before. And that was, you know, making you mad whenever that you had to choose one possible partner,
and then you'd be left wondering, what am I missing out in with the
what
other
ifs,
partner? What the what ifs, you know? Yeah, because I mean, one partner could be, let's say you have an interest in cooking, and one of your partners has an interest in cooking, and that's something you share together. But you also have an interest in tennis, let's say, and your other the cooking partner doesn't care for tennis, couldn't give a 2 flying fucks about tennis, but your secondary partner is mad about tennis. So that's 2 aspects of your own personality which are met from 2 different people.
Yeah, this is what I said about allowing myself to give the things that I give a place to be appreciated.
Absolutely.
I completely understand if my partner is not into tennis, that they're not going to enjoy as much as another person, a tennis conversation.
Exactly.
They're not going to enjoy because they're not into tennis,
And you find yourself, like I've been in this situation myself, and I find myself, if I'm super interested in something and the other person necessarily isn't that interested in it, and then I feel like I'm forcing the conversation on them, and I was like, oh, but this is something I want to talk about. But luckily I have different connections now myself who are interested in different aspects of different parts of my own personality. So I know exactly, I want to talk about movies. I know exactly who, I can have a really in-depth conversation with about movies, as opposed to the tennis partner who couldn't give a flying F about the latest release in the cinemas.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why I say that when you start, like keeping the clicks from people that you like, your quality of life improves like a lot.
It's all about the clicking.
Yeah, it's all about the clicking, and it's all about, allowing yourself to explore the things that you want to explore.
Okay.
Because sometimes with one person, you're not going to be able to explore everything, That is something that I understood with my, like, looking back at my past relationships. I was not 100% me with that person. And it took me a lot to actually accept that, But I would see myself like doing things that I wouldn't do in the relationship because it felt like I couldn't do those things in the relationship.
Okay,
So I would use my friendships and stuff to explore that path. But yeah, it took a lot to actually say, okay, so I've never met, like anyone who I have connected on 100% level with. So what? Like,
Okay,
that is not a problem. There is like solutions to this. And this was actually one, like, okay, so let's start exploring on this polyamory and ethical non-monogamy world, because I'm super interested in knowing who I am,
Ah, yeah. Okay, that really resonates. Learning about who you are, and at the end of the day, I mean, treating people like people and not treating people like objects, and keeping options open. Until, who knows, I mean, down the line, it may become a case where there is one partner of yours where you're like, yeah, this is my nesting partner. We're going to do the marriage thing and all that, but we're going to have that big conversation beforehand that we're still going to be, non-monogamous. Who knows? Or you could decide to just settle down with you're the one, if you ever find you're the one. Because life is love, everything about it's a journey. You never know what's around the corner, but it's just following the path and see where it leads.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about sex here?
We can talk about sex. Yes, let's talk about sex, baby. Okay. Let's talk about you and me.
Because this is something that I want to talk about as well. Like now that I'm having conversations about me not being monogamous, I've had people say, that's because you just want to have sex with different people.
Yeah, and as I've talked about, that's one of those misconceptions across the board. When someone from a more staunchly monogamous mindset hears about polyamory or ethical non-monogamy, and they think it's just about sex, which is fair enough, because, I mean, like as I said earlier on, I have ignorance in regards to your life, because I can't identify as a gay male. I may never be able to identify as a gay male, but I'm always interested in learning about your journey or anyone else's journey if their journey is vastly different to my own.
Yeah, that's it. So right now that I think about it, I've been, like a couple of months thinking about this. I look back and I look at the meetups that I had with the guys that I'm seeing, and they were not about sex.
Oh,
sex was not important in the whole thing,
Okay.
It was more about getting to know each other, about doing something fun together. So, I look at these people, and then at least from my experience, I understand them, because I was also that kind of person. Like my 19 or 20-year-old version was also thinking that a polyamorous relationship was all about sex. So I've been in that position and I understand them. But from my experience, I look back to like the times that I've had that I have met with a person, and sex was not important. Sex was something enjoyable that if it comes and then we're both comfortable, of course that we're gonna do that. But I was not meeting up with these people just because of sex.
And have you found that more liberating than when you were on Tinder looking for your monogamous connection, or how does that resonate with you now, this whole idea of spending quality time with multiple people as opposed to not so much quality time with one?
Yeah, especially me, I think that I've always been like that. Sex was not a thing that I've been, like looking for a lot. So I've always had, like Tinder. And whenever that I wanted sex, it felt like I could do it alone. I wouldn't need like anybody.
I don't need no one. I can do the sex all by myself.
But of course that I see it as something enjoyable when you do it with another person. And that's something that I have enjoyed. But it's not my top priority.
Okay, very interesting. Because, I mean, once again, it's different strokes for different folks. I find myself very lucky as well within this lifestyle that I'm able to explore different facets of my sexuality that I wouldn't be able to explore within a monogamous setup. And it's, I've said it probably in it's liberating. It is. It's a very comforting feeling. Comforting? Try again. It's a very comforting feeling. I got tongue twisted. I got tongue twisted. So, Raúl, is there anything else you would like to add into your, looking at your journey so far? Because we'd love to have you back on to talk about how things are going with your partners, the ups, the downs, because there will be downs. I mean, that's part of life. There will be ups, there will be downs, there will be lefts, there will be rights. You'll find yourself going in circles sometimes, but that's just the meandering of life in general.
Yeah. So let me just say that for this to happen, like for your exploration to happen and to finally understand who you are, you got to accept the parts that you don't like about yourself.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, for example, I happened to meet a person, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, all right? And then I got... I was like overthinking about one thing that didn't make sense. Okay. And I was like overthinking.
I know that feeling.
Right?
Yeah,
and I was like
ruminating that, going in circles in your own head, and it just doesn't make any sense, but yet it's still there.
That's it.
No matter how much you think about it. And the more you think about it, the worse it gets. And even when you don't want to think about it, it's right there in your head.
And I would try to ignore it, like, no, this is not a big deal. This is not a big deal. But actually it was in my mind for maybe a whole night, or a whole day. And it wasn't until I said, okay, Raúl, you are like this. You've been overthinking about this for one day. And so what? Like, that's who you are. Let's, start from where... let's start from where you are.
Okay. So giving it that time to be thought about, but after that time is given, and you've given enough time to think about it, letting it go, moving on, and letting what will be, will be.
Exactly.
Good
and
advice.
It takes a lot to accept the parts that you don't like about yourself. Because your ego is like, no, you're perfect, and you never make mistakes, and that is not your fault. That is their fault.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot, but I think it's something that we should do. Actually stop.
Self-reflection.
That's it.
Yeah. And prioritize self-care, because at the end of the day, if you're, like we said at the very start of this episode, if you can't love yourself, or you find it hard to love yourself, you're going to find it very hard to love others.
That's it. Cliche again. I know that it sounds cliche, but it is the way it is.
Super cliche. I'll get it on a t-shirt and start walking around.
Yeah, right?
Wearing it,
yeah, I've come to a point where I think that if something sounds cliche, it's because it's been repeated so long, because it's true.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it's true. So, of course, that it's going to sound cliche.
Okie dokie. So we're just coming up on time now. Was there anything else you would like to interject into this conversation?
I think I'm happy with everything that I shared and with everything that we talked about.
Well, thank you for sharing. You've been very open, very honest, and as I say, I appreciate openness. I appreciate honesty, because it's what I like to show myself.
Wait, there's one thing that maybe
one more thing.
One thing, because I was taking.
We have a sheet of paper coming out of the pocket.
No, I said everything. I pretty much said everything.
Do you want to just tick it off? Tick off your sheet. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Karl.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to help you doing this, and I am actually glad whenever that you want to have me here, because it is a complete honor.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I would love to explore more the gay male perspective on this whole lifestyle, because as I said before, I have no concept of it, and I never will. But it's great to have someone who has that, inner track on this whole. Let's say, and I'm sure that we may have other young gay male listeners who would appreciate your advice and your, your support.
Yeah.
I mean, because who knows who we can help, and that's why I always reach out to people at the end of every podcast, that if you have a story to share or if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, just email us at polyamarewepodcast@gmail.com and let's sort it out, because you never know who you may help on this journey, or it's quite fulfilling.
Yeah, that's it. I would have loved to have listened to this when I was maybe 20 or something, so I had the opportunity to see the other options, So I'm loving that you're doing this.
I appreciate that,
Thank
Raúl.
you so much.
Thanks, Emil, and we will talk to you again soon.
All right.
Bye, listener people.